Hello everyone and welcome to the program Business Point on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. Many thanks for tuning in on today's edition of the program. So on today's edition we'll be taking, obviously started from the home front as we discuss Nigerians' basic growth, economic growth, and again would also be making major stops in Europe, Asia, and as well as the US, where we think to bring you major talking points around the world that has to deal with business. So we'll be starting from the home front as usual, as Nigerian Naira has appreciated by 125 Naira to a dollar on a month after the launch of the electronic foreign exchange matching system. This initiative was actually created by the central bank, which being governed by the central bank governor Yemi Cardoso. So with all of this recent initiative, analysis says that this may be an indication that the Nigerian Naira's rebound journey has just started, noting that the local currency will have a positive run in the year 2025. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Naira strengthened by 8%. The dollar was quoted at 1,535 Naira on the third day of January 2024 against 1,660 Naira traded on the 2nd of December 2024. The official launch date of the electronic foreign exchange machine system trading indicated a 125 Naira gain over the period. The introduction of the EMS was first announced by the Central Bank of Nigeria on the 3rd of October 2024 as part of the series of reforms aimed to addressing speculations and enhancing transparency in Nigeria's foreign exchange markets. This system was specifically designed for authorized dealers operating within the Nigerian foreign exchange market and became operational on the 2nd of December 2024 after a successful 2 weeks trial period conducted in the month of November 2024. So looking at this now, the success of it has been in news for the past 1 month, and that we've been able to record a significant that under policies were not being in place for the Naira should be able to lay back and then contend with other foreign currencies. Now this initiative was created by the Central Bank of Nigeria to help the Naira that has been floated to be able to have what it means or what it takes to be able to compete in the FX market. So with this current initiative, we've witnessed a significant growth of 120 Naira against the dollar. It's still going to boil down to the same fact that the president says Naira is going to be exchanged at 1,500 Naira in the year 2025. So with all of these initiatives in place and this policy is being tested and we're seeing results, it might show that yes, the Naira is going to be stabilized within the range of 1,500. And if this initiatives and more initiatives come into place, then Naira is also going to rebound more and is also going to open more avenue for foreign investment, so as the Nigerian economy will keep blossoming and then keep growing and gaining momentum against other currencies in the FX market. Moving away from Nigerians' gain in Naira, we'll also have another conversation around Nigerian crude oil, where it says Nigerian surpasses 1.5 million barrels per day in crude output in the first time in the past 4 years. Looking at the COVID-19 scenario that happened, it has caused a whole lot of concerns, and then it has caused major dips in the production of oil and other sectors, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but globally. So Nigeria's leading oil producing country has crossed its 1.5 million barrels per day threshold in crude oil production, surpassing its December 2024 quota set by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, that's OPEC. According to tanker tracking data compiled by Bloomberg, Nigeria's output rose by 40,000 barrels to reach 1.51 million barrels per day, making its highest production level in the past 4 years. The country, which had faced challenge maintaining production capping at 1.3 million barrels per day in the year 2023, closed the year with a significant improvement, exceeding OPEC's quota projection for the year. Despite this this growth and all, we witnessed, despite this achievement, Nigeria's production still fell short of the 2024 budget projection by 500,000 barrels per day. This gap was compared in the nation to intensify efforts to diversify its revenue base, relying more on taxes and custom duties to bridge the deficits. In 2023, August to be specific, OPEC retained Nigeria's production quota at 1.5 million barrels per day as part of its global oil price stabilization strategy. Further progress was reported in October when the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPCL, disclosed achieving 1.8 million barrels per day. This milestone was attributed to enhanced security measures and aimed to reduce oil theft and curbing pipeline vandalism. Looking at all of this still, however, the NNPC did not specify whether the 1.8 million barrels per day figure was referred to solely to crude oil production or it includes blended and unblended coordinates which are excluded from international sales. While Nigeria experienced a production boost in December, the overall output of OPEC members saw a notable decline, primarily due to strategic cuts by United Arab Emirates aimed to stabilizing global oil price as per Bloomberg's data. So the price of oil has actually been fluctuating as at last year, and then as at this morning, the price also fluctuated. Now, Russia is currently having massive production, but we'll be having all of this conversation because of the current situation going on in Russia. They are having massive production, but still, they are still saying they are not hitting up the mark. OPEC is saying they are not hitting up the mark for the year. So we are going to have this conversation, but before we get right into it, we're seeing the US jobs data is actually being stabilized, given the fact that there are new policies that have been in place to be able to have all of this achievement. So looking at all of those angles now, we'll be going on a quick break. When we return back, I'll bring you updates on the oil price and how tightened it has gotten. Please do stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. And before we go right into the current oil price, that's crude oil price, if you could agree with me that depending on where you're buying, the cost of fuel in Nigeria is beginning to, depreciate. That is a PMS price in petrol stations. So some stations, depending on where you're buying, some are selling at 980, some are selling at 945. All of this is due to the current mark that the NNPC rather has been able to reach 1.51 million barrels per day, and the Dangote refinery coming into place, Port Harcourt refinery, and also the Warri refineries. Now, looking at all of these now, oil lifting is going to start from the 1st of February as projected by the NNPC and oil marketers from the 1st of February from Warri refineries. So with all of this now, we are going to be having surplus of this commodity. So if we have the surplus of this commodity, by default, we are expected to see that the price of items by the price of this fuel should be able to come down. So if these prices get to depreciate, automatically the prices of food items in the market is meant to also depreciate. So on that note, if all of this continues and then this projection and no unforeseen circumstances happen within this refineries, we will tend to see a bit of a caution down of the prices of food items in the market. That's if also the cost of insecurity is being taken care of in most of the in most of the challenged areas and stringent areas. We could remember this week report reaching us that military personnel ordered farmers not to go to farm due to the current situation going on within the Niger states, where they made mention that terrorists must have placed missiles within those farmlands. But issues like that now are being sorted out by the military and the state government. So if we have all of these sorted out and then production, agriculture gets to go back, farmers get to go back to farm and have their produce, we would expect lots of food items in the market, cost of fuel getting down, then availability of all of these day-to-day necessities will be made available and at the pocket-friendly prices. Moving away from those angles, let's look at what OPEC has to say. And then oil price raised earlier today as supplies from Russia and OPEC members tightened, while data showing an unexpected increase in the U.S. job openings pointed to expanding economic activities and constrained growth in oil demand. Brent oil was up by 0.42% to $77.37 to a barrel. The U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose by 0.57%, which is up by 74.67%. Oil output from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries fell in December after 2 months of increase. A Reuters survey showed field maintenance in the United Arab Emirates offset a Nigerian output hike and gains elsewhere in the group. In Russia, oil output averaged 8.9 million barrels per day in December, below the country's target. Bloomberg's report on the economic front, the jobs opening rose in the United States of America in the month of November, and the numbers of leftovers was low, while workers were reluctant to quit. The job opening and labor turnover survey showed oil price raised with economic growth. And looking at all of these, with economic growth, oil price tends to go up. So because there will be increase of demand of these items. Now, a lot of Nigerians have actually are shocked given the fact that the insurgency going on in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, obviously is affecting the production, but still is affecting. Nigerians are still surprised. People around the world are still surprised that despite all of this crisis that has been going on for over 2 years now, they are still recording this significant amount of growth. So Nigeria, that is one of the biggest oil exporting countries. Now, questions are being asked, what is the problem? Why isn't Nigeria doing up to 2 to 5 million barrels per day? Now, some have argued that it's because of the lack of refineries that we have. The ones that we have are actually being dormant, as they have said, but the federal government and the NNPC are saying all hands are on deck for those refineries to come back to life. So if that does happen, then we will expect to see a significant growth in the production of crude per day. So we are still looking out to see and expect that all of these, tend to happen and swiftly. So moving away from oil and the generation from producing per day, let's have a conversation where we'll be looking at Indonesian books lower than expected. Their 2024 fiscal deficits are looking lower than expected. So they had a projection, but they couldn't hit it due to some global economic challenges. Indonesia unaudited budget deficit for 2024 was similar than the government's earlier estimate. Official data showed providing a buffer for facial needs in the year 2025 after authorities cancelled a plan to tax hike. South Asian largest economy closed its 2024 year with a budget cap of 507.8 trillion rupiah, which amounts around 31.38 billion US dollars, over 2.29% of the GDP, smaller than an earlier estimate of 2.7% of the GDP, but wider than 2023's gap of 1.6 to 61% of the GDP. By law, the government must keep the annual fiscal deficit under 3% of its GDP, given higher debt assurance. Latest last year, the government also extended up with 4 to 5 4 trillion rubai in excess cash that could be used to plug 2025 projections deficit of 2.53% of its GDP. Officials at the Finance Ministry says in 2024, revenue rose by 2.1% from 2023 to 2.8 trillion rubai. The government spent 3.3 rubai in total last year, up from 7.3% from 2023. The total expenditure plan for the year 2025 is around 3.6 trillion rubai. A challenge for this year is to look for ways to increase, says the finance minister, increase ways for revenue after planned value added tax with increase across the board to become efficient in the month of January. One was cancelled by the president of Indonesia as the latest moment to apply the hike only on luxurious goods items. So tax and then value-added tax, and as well as tax reforms, is not just happening in Nigeria, happening all over the world currently because of the current global economic situation. Just like it's being said by the president of the Fiscal Committee on Tax Reform, Mr. Oyedele says that the tax reform for Nigeria is looking to make the rich pay more tax than the poor. That is, those earning 20 million and above are going to be paying higher than those paying 400,000 and below. So this is also applicable to what's going on in Indonesia at this point. Luxurious goods items and those earning more than the average man in Indonesia will be expected to pay more tax. So these reforms are happening all over the world due to the global economic challenges that got struck to the entire universe by COVID-19 in the year 2019/2020. So all of these governments and then countries are putting heads together to be able to have all of this sorted. The finance minister still went forward to say previously, as the general VAT would have raised an additional income of around 75 trillion rubai. A VAT hike of luxurious goods items means there would be an increment of 1.5 trillion to 3.5 trillion rubai in additional revenue, says the finance minister. The minister went ahead to say that taxes and VAT would definitely be increased. Looking at the financial market has been monitoring the government fiscal policies, and the president says he would go for more daring without debt to funding the flagship programs, which include providing free school lunches and significantly expanding farmland and all of that. So he is looking at means, putting in place things that would help the economy grow, just like what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing. So we are seeing projections here in Nigeria that have shown significant input that, okay, if these policies are seen through, we would be able to witness significant growth. Now, talking about the Nigerian Naira, let's talk about the Nigerian Naira for a bit. The current foreign exchange matching system that the CBN introduced now, in the first 1 month, we've seen a significant growth. Nigerian Naira rebounding and gaining 125 Naira against the dollar, right? So the Crude for Naira initiative is also there. Now, first, we are expected, the Crude for Naira initiative was created for Nigerian Naira to be able to rebound, given the fact that the Naira has been floated for over a year now. Given the fact that it has been floated now, Nigerian Naira wasn't able to be stabilized, given the fact that it came as a shock to a lot of business individuals who did not prepare for it. And also, the economy wasn't also ready for that shake-up. So now the shake-up happened, Nigerians learned, policies are being put in place, tax reforms are coming in place. Now, when all of this does happen, right, then we would see that the policies are in place. When Naira gets to stabilize, by default, we would see lots of investors come into the system. And then when they come into the system to invest in several sectors, if Nigerian and the policies that are put in place get fully implemented, we will get to see that the Nigerian Naira will tend to rebound more again. all of these, and then the plan to de-dollarize Nigerian economy would be able to help Nigerian naira definitely rebound. So looking at the fiscal policies now that has been created, and then the monetary policies that has been tightened, talks are coming in by the central bank that those policies will be softened and then will be eased so as to make the business environment friendly for SMEs and upcoming entrepreneurs to be able to get loans and then get to boost businesses, because SMEs are the key drivers to any nation's economy. So the CBN and the Ministry of Finance are doing what they can to be able to ease out the current financial the fiscal policy rather that has been created, fiscal and monetary policy that has been tightened. They're looking for ways to ease it out so as to create more avenue for SMEs to be able to get loans and be able to push up their business so as Nigerian economy and GDP will get to grow, as well as curbing down the inflation, given the fact that the president has said that year 2025, inflation is going to be coming down to about 15%. So policies are being put in place to be able to actualize all of this. So we're expecting, and then we're watching, and Trust Business Point will be there to bring you all the latest updates and trends going on within these various sectors. Moving away from Indonesia and the policies here in Nigeria, let's have a conversation with Thailand, where businesses are expected and the economy is expected, the GDP rather, is expected to grow up by 2.9% in 2025. Thailand's economy is expected to grow by 2.5% to 2.9% in the year 2025, and export to raise from 1.5% to 2.5%. A leading joint business group says this. For 2024, the group maintained its economic growth forecast at 2.8%. It kept its 2024 export growth forecast at 4%. The group predicts 39 million foreign tourists the year pre-pandemic level, but Susan, chairman of Thai Chamber of Commerce, says the visitors numbers could reach around 40 million, which would be a record. Government policies would also help growth in first half of 2025 to help actualize all of this projection. Structural issues including high housing, household debts, and competitiveness of small businesses was holding back growth, and in a statement adding that uncertainties of the global trade was also a concern. Looking at all of these concerns, it has said that it might hinder or cause them from achieving this projection. Looking at the major challenges going on now, food items are the major drive or key drivers of inflation globally. Why is that happening? Now, Russia and Ukraine are major exporters of grains, and also not just grains, household items, and also major exporters of crude and oil. With all of these insurgencies going on, the crisis going on between Russia and Ukraine, and then the one also happening within the Middle East, has contributed negatively, given the fact that COVID-19 had its own negative impact on the entire universe. So these insurgencies going on within these regions have also contributed to the global inflation and hunger that the global economy is facing. So looking at all of these issues now, if we get to maintain peace and stability in these regions, and policies that are being created get seen through, and then the World Bank and IMF policies being softened on developing economies, it would help, curb out the global inflation that the world is facing at this point. And on that note, that's how we wrap up and then close the curtain for today on today's edition of Business Points. My name is Samuel Odi. I'll see you again tomorrow as we talk more business. Bye for now.